Marshlands by Emily Pauline Johnson, 1861 to 1913. A thin wet sky that yellows at the rim, and meets with sun-lost lip the marshes' brim, the pools low-lying, dank with moss and mould, glint through their mildews like large cups of gold. Among the wild rice in the still lagoon, in monotone the lizard shrills his tune. The wild goose homing seeks a sheltering, where rushes grow and oozing lichens cling. Lake cranes with heavy wing and lazy flight sail up the silence with the nearing night, and like a spirit swathed in some soft veil steals twilight and its shadows o'er the swale. Hushed lie the sedges, and the vapours creep, thick, grey and humid, while the marshes sleep. Okay, Emily Pauline Johnson was a Canadian author. Now, her father was a Mohawk chief, a Mohawk Indian chief of mixed race. The Mohawks originally lived in the area of New York. However, her parents were part of Canadian high society, and Emily Johnson was a high-class lady. So, what's the poem about? Well, it says it all in the title, Marshlands. Marshlands, it's an area where there are lakes and pools and earth, but everything is very damp and it's full of moss and there is water everywhere. And this is a beautiful description of nature, of this place as night begins to fall. So, a thin wet sky that yellows at the rim. So the sky is starting to go yellow at the rim, at the edge. Yeah, so the light is going. And a thin wet sky that gives us this humid feel, and there are no bright colours. Yeah, the sky is not a bright colour. And meets with sun-lost lip the marshes' brim. So the lip, the edge of the sky, this yellow rim, doesn't have the direct sunlight from above, and we can see that why it's getting night. And the sky meets the edge of the marsh, the brim of the marsh where it comes up, and the sun is no longer shining on that, it's in shadow. The pools, low-lying, dank with moss and mould. So there are pools of water, and they are dank, they are wet, there is humidity everywhere. This word dank gives the idea of humidity everywhere. And moss is this green plant. Well, it's not a plant, it's this green vegetation that grows in wet places, and mould. Yeah, there is mould as well, so there are mosses and moulds. This is telling us that the place is very damp and humid. And these pools, they glint, they reflect light through their mildews. So mildews, another thing that grows in damp, unventilated places. Yeah, and then she uses a simile, like large cups of gold. So the pools look like cups of gold with maybe just a reflection of the sunlight or the sky on them. Among the wild rice in the still lagoon. So there's a lagoon, like a lake, and it's still, it's not moving. So everything is still. I can see this mirrored surface of the water. And yes, if she's saying that the sunlight is reflecting, there's this like mirror surface, everything is still. And there is wild rice growing in this lagoon. In monotone, the lizard shrills his tune. So to shrill, a shrill voice, there is a lizard making a high-pitched sound, and the lizard is calling out, but it's just a monotone, one tone, one note. Beep, beep, beep. The wild goose homing seeks a sheltering where rushes grow and oozing lichens cling. So the goose, there's a goose flying, and it's coming home, and it's looking for a place for the night. It's looking for a shelter in a place where rushes, reeds, these are the plants that grow out of the water, and oozing lichens cling. So lichen is another creature that sticks to rocks. It grows over the rocks. And to ooze, it's like the lichens are oozing out of the place, or out of the rocks, or out of the surface. To ooze water, we get this feeling of water and dampness everywhere. She sets the scene really beautifully. Late cranes with heavy wing and lazy flight sail up the silence with the nearing night. So there are cranes. A crane is like a stork. It's a big bird with long legs. And I think the cranes are emigrating south, perhaps. And the late cranes, they are going south, but it's late for them, and they're these huge birds with heavy wings and a very, very slow flight, and they sail up the silence. So they sail because cranes also glide on the air. So they move very slowly, sometimes flapping, sometimes gliding, as night is nearing. And then we have a simile. And like a spirit swathed in some soft veil, steals twilight and its shadow o'er the swale. Well, firstly, look at this. Spirit swathed, some soft steals, shadows, swales, and even its as well. Its shadows. Wow. Lots of alliteration there in this simile. And she's saying that the twilight, the half light, and the shadows that accompany it are moving gently over the swale, the low marshland, as if this twilight is a spirit swathed, covered in a veil. I think it may be a veil of mist here, but a veil is a piece of clothing. So she's comparing the twilight moving like a spirit with a veil over it. Hushed lie the sedges, and the vapours creep, thick grey and humid, while the marshes sleep. So a sedge is a type of grass, and these are hushed, they're quiet. So they're not saying anything. So I think this is giving these sedges personification. So the sedges make no noise. They're not talking to each other with bright colours. And the vapours creep. The vapours, this is mist coming off the water. They move thick, grey and humid. Yeah, they're moving across the marsh, but very slowly, while the marshes sleep. So night is coming, and the marsh is going to sleep. It's going to spend night. So this is, I think, a really lovely description of a natural scene. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Marshlands by Pauline Johnson.